Ekam In this, the Thursday Satsangh from Ramanacentre for Learning, as usual, we'll be reading from the work Guruvachaka Kovai by Muruganar Swamigal. We'll be reading 2 verses. Each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that will be followed by a 10-minute Atmaucharam practice. And after the 2 verses, the meaning and the 2 sessions of practice are completed, there will be a summing up by our President, Dr. Sharavaka, and that will be followed by an offering of Sri Ramanacentre by Vaibhavji and Pratnama. So we begin the evening satsang by taking verse number 10 from Guruvachaka Kovai. This is from the segment Investigation into Truth. The other 2 segments are Meditation on the Truth, and the last segment is Experience of the Truth. there is a small correction. This is actually in the prefatory verses. The first 13 are prefatory verses, then part 1, investigation into truth. So verse number 10 is part of the prefatory verses, and for the doing appropriately from the subsegment apology. So an apology from me for the mistake that it is from investigation. It is in the prefatory segment, apology. There is a precursor to the verse. It was traditional in ancient times for poets to present their new writings to a learned panel of scholars. It was traditional in ancient times for poets to present their new writings to a learned panel of scholars. In the preamble to these works, it was customary for the author to ask these experts to ignore any defects in the text. If we see Kanakammal's work in the preface, she writes that, I am not quoting, I am only paraphrasing, that all the good that is contained in her commentary belongs to the teachings of Bhagavan and the subsequent sharings of the great devotee Muruganar Swamigal. And if any defects are there, they are all exclusively due to her. So that is the humility shown by the authors. But Muruganar, if I remember right, is going to deviate from that a little bit. Verse number 10. Upon examination, it will be discovered that this elegant Guruvachaka Kovai was not sung by me, a dull-witted fool, through intellectual exertion. It was Venkatavan, divinity in human form, who without conscious volition caused me to sing it. Upon examination, it will be examined, it will be discovered that this elegant Guruvachaka Kovai was not sung by me, a dull-witted fool, through intellectual exertion. It was Venkatavan, divinity in human form, who without conscious volition caused me to sing it. Now, in the introduction to the English version of Guruvachaka Kovai, Godman and others, they write that in a few verses, Bhagavan has made amendments, and this is probably one of the verses like that. The earlier version written by Muruganar Swamigal is, upon examination, it will be discovered that all these letters are certainly not those written by me, a dull-witted fool through intellectual exertion. The one who wrote them is Venkatavan, divinity in human form. So the original from Muruganar Swamigal was, the one who wrote it is only Venkatavan. Bhagavan makes a very significant correction. He says that it was Venkatavan, divinity in human form, without conscious volition, who caused me to sing it. So Gottman says this is one of the verses which has undergone a beautiful contribution from Bhagavan. That what Muruganar gives as apology is that obviously the contents of this Guruvachaka Kovai are of such elegance, such beauty, such fragrance of truth, that it could not have been written by me, a dull-witted fool, through whatever intellect he has by exerting that. Definitely not. It is only, in the initial verse he writes, it is only Venkatavan who has written, but Bhagavan makes the correction. It was Venkatavan, divinity in human form, who without conscious volition caused me to sing it. Venkatavan is a diminutive of Venkatraman, Sri Ramana's birth name. Muruganar frequently uses this in his works. Bhagavan made a significant correction to this verse. The original verse and a discussion of the differences between the two can be found in so-and-so pages. That is the note. So the apology and the suggestion to each one of us who is participating in a satsang, where Bhagavan's words are spoken and listened to, Muruganar Swamigal is giving us the clue as to how to begin, how to conduct, how to end, how to practice, in what mode one has to do all this. Because writing is only one form of expression, speaking is definitely a form of expression, listening is definitely a form of understanding expression. Therefore, all these can be guided by what Muruganar Swamigal and Bhagavan blesses us with. So let us read the verse with more care to see what they are telling us about our sadhana, about our expression and listening to expression. Muruganar Swamigal says, upon examination, let us all examine how I could have started, how this fellow could have started. Now the trajectory of the journey of this jiva is clearly known to me. There was no way that trajectory could have come on its own accord to any of these works except for Bhagavan's grace. So at the beginning itself, we offer that it is Bhagavan who has chosen to appear in our lives. And as Muruganar Swamigal says, upon that examination, it is discovered that this elegant Guru Vachaka Kovai was not sung by me. Therefore, these words that are spoken in this satsang are not spoken by any one of us. These words listened to, the act of listening is not done by any of us except by that grace. And how that grace works, Bhagavan says, was not sung by me, a dull-witted fool, through intellectual exertion. So definitely the speaking should not be done by the dull-witted fool that I am through intellectual exertion. But Muruganar Swamigal says, it is Venkatavan, it is Bhagavan. Earlier, I used to have this feeling that in our home, we used to call our parents Vango Kongu. In our mother's home itself, she would call her parents Vama, Poma, Kunji, Kunjapa, like that. And in our cousin's home, they would call the parents Vapa, Popa, like that. And I used to be under this impression that Vango Kongo is a lot of love and respect. But later I discovered in my own journey with Bhagavan how I would call him in my own inner voice, inner conversation, and the Kovanagar, that Kaupinadari. Now, the love, the affection, the proximity is reflected by Muruganar Swamigal by calling Bhagavan as Venkatavan. The sense of belonging is so close when we call with so much affection. And in one of the conversations, Muruganar says that when Bhagavan is saying, somebody comes and he reports that his Guru says that every day they have to write the japa 10,000 times, but offer all the punya of writing that japa, chanting that japa to the Guru in the evening. That person is coming and reporting like that to Bhagavan. And Bhagavan is saying in a humorous tone to all those who are sitting, Paranga, Muruganar is there. Paranga eppadi solrare? See how he is saying, his Guru wants them to write all the japa, but he's taking off all the punya. It is like earning interest and taking it away. And Muruganar Swamigal says that Guru is far better. He is only asking the interest. You are asking the principle itself. The one doer itself cannot be there with you, Bhagavan. That Guru is far better than you. That is the proximity that they have. And it is the same point Muruganar is making here. Let us not do a single sadhana as though we are doing it. Let us remember Bhagavan in the beginning, Bhagavan in the middle, Bhagavan in the end, and make a complete offering of whatever we could do to that grace. And that is how the work is beginning. That Brunar Swamigal, in all humility, is saying, upon examination, it will be discovered that this elegant Guru Vachakakovai was not sung by me, a dull-witted fool, through intellectual exertion. It was Venkatavan, divinity in human form, who, without conscious volition, is added by Bhagavan. That means Bhagavan also does not have an intent. Bhagavan says, while describing what is the nature of Ishvara, Bhagavan says, no intent or motive can be attributed to Ishvara. Just like in the sun's presence, all works in the earth go on automatically. In the Sannidhi of Ishvara, all the karmas are undergone by the various jivas. It is the same. The Ishvara Sannidhi and Guru Sannidhi are not different. We are in Guru Sannidhi. We are in Ramana Sannidhi. He is constantly witnessing whatever we do. All our karmas are bouncing back off that witness. Definitely, surely. But no conscious volition can be attributed to that Sakshi, to that Shakti. That is why Bhagavan is saying, yes, I take responsibility that it is I who has put you into motion to write this Guru Vachakakovai, but without conscious volition, being the unaffected one. So that is the verse, that whatever we do, whatever sadhana we do, let us offer it in the beginning itself, take Bhagavan's permission, have that attitude that this ego could never have come upon this path by itself. It is only the grace of the Guru, the grace of the self, that has brought us to this sadhana. In that Sannidhi, let us sit in Atmavicharam for 10 minutes. Revathi, you have to set the time today. We go on to the reading of the second verse, and Revathi has selected verse number 1000 for us, sir. Verse number 1000 is in the segment Experience of the Truth. The subsegment is the grandeur of consciousness. It is in the main part, Experience of the Truth, Anubhavam, and the subsegment is the grandeur of consciousness. Verse number 1000. The consciousness that through Sukta Arivu, the ego perceives the world as if it is alien to it, is indeed inert, Jada. The consciousness that through Sukta Arivu means objectified knowledge or knowing. The attention objectified, lighting up a knowledge or an object and then say, I know this. That is Suttarivu. That is the action of the ego. So the consciousness that through Suttarivu, the ego perceives the world as if it is alien to it, anniyan, is indeed inert. When the ego dies, the non-dual radiance, pure consciousness, the source of the mind, will shine forth. I'll read that again. The consciousness that through Suttarivu, the ego perceives the world as if the world is alien to it, is indeed inert. Inert means something that does not have consciousness of its own. It is having derived or reflected consciousness. Therefore, the ego is said to be inert, jadam, because it is not having consciousness of its own. When the ego dies, the non-dual radiance, pure consciousness, the source of the mind will shine forth. So the two segments in this, the grandeur of the consciousness, how one, the inert, the reflected, becomes limited, and when that limited ego dies, perishes on inquiry, the Purnavastu rises and shines self-luminously as the limitless consciousness, the existence consciousness, which shines on its own, not on borrowed light. Therefore, the ego, the Suttarivu, has to be inquired into. Aniyabhavatil avanahamagu ananiyabhavame undipara anaithilum uttamam undipara. Velividayam vittu vilangum arunesa. Who is Arunesha? Who is the Lord? There cannot be anything outside of him. Tiruvachakam says, why is Shiva known as Vimalan, the pure? Is because there is nothing outside of him to make him spoil or make his purity affected by that. In Zen, there is a story that the Zen master gets up every half an hour and sweeps the room. And one of the visitors asked, why is this every half an hour you are sweeping? Then he says, it is the dust. Then the visitor asks, from where does the dust come? You see, from outside it comes. So, whenever there is an outside, there is malam, says Tiruvachakam. Where does the dust come, the impurity come? It comes from whenever there is aniyabhavam. Aniyabhavatil avanahamagu ananiyabhavame undipara. How will the aham of Ishvara be? In Upadesha Saram, Bhagavan says, avanahamagu. In Ishvara's aham, can there be me and another? There cannot be. In Ishvara's aham, it can only be I, because everything is he. Avanaham agum ananya bhavame. In Ishvara, the Atma cannot have anya bhava. So to go towards that divinity, one should drop anya bhava. And whenever anya bhava arises through the ego, whenever Suttariva is there and something apart from us is perceived, we should understand this is the play of the Jadam, the ego, and we should take it to Ananya Bhava. For whom is this object? For whom is this knowledge? To me. Who am I? Takes one to the Ananya Bhava. And when with that Vicharam, the ego perishes, Ahaminashabaji, Ahamaham Taya, Spurati Hirut Swayam, Paramapurna Sat, says Bhagavan. What happens when the ego perishes? When the Jadam returns to its source and the source rises and shines, Ahaminashabaji, when the ego perishes, Aham Taya, as I, Spurati Hrit Swayam, in the Hridayam, self-luminous shines, Paramapurna Sat, that Paramapurna Vastu, the Sadvastu, rises and shines. The grandeur of consciousness as existence consciousness reveals itself. And how can one be apart from that? How can anything be apart from that? Nothing is apart from that. Therefore, I too cannot be apart from that. The grandeur of the consciousness consumes everything and remains all alone self-luminously. Till such self-luminous shining of that infinite consciousness is realized to be our natural sahajasthiti, one should do Atmauchar. One should take the inert consciousness, which is showing things other than us, back to its source with Atmauchar. With Bhagavan's immense grace, which has brought us to this direct path, let us sit in the practice of Atmaucharam for 10 more minutes. You can set the time. I request our President, Dr. Sharda, give the summing up remarks.
Namo Ramana. Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. And Bhagavan is telling us that even to say that it's an anomaly in some senses. There is no all beings, there is only the self. And we say this just from our standpoint, the way Bhagavan gives us many aids. So he has told us that Arunachala Ramana is the self that shines as awareness in all beings. But here in the second verse, he is telling us that there is no division. There is Arunachala Ekana Vadi Niduri. You alone are, the self alone is. There is nothing apart from it. When there is nothing apart from it, where is the question of there being any volition, any movement in that? So we look at from this perspective when we see Bhagavan is telling in the first verse where he gave it to us that there was no volition in Bhagavan. And this is clearly seen by the devotees of Bhagavan, by Muruganar himself, and by Muni also. When they describe even his grace, they say, Muni says in Chatvarimshat, he says, Na karuna guna tava vidam pate hridaya tejasa sahaja bhaivate. The compassion is the natural quality of the shining of your heart. It is not a guna, it is not an attribute. Similarly, Muruganar Swami also says, translated by Professor Swaminathan into English, that Bhagavan gives like a tree, which gives shade to every comer by nature, not by choice. So there is no volition over there. And that automatic divine activity, as Nandakumarji told us, which happens in the Sannidhi of Ishvara, Bhagavan gives the example of the sun. He says so many activities, we have presented it in one ballet of ours also, so many activities happen because of the sun. Oh, does the sun say, oh my God, I have to wake up in the morning, only if I rise, then the whole world will rise, light will come to the world, and when light comes, all the plants will start, they have their photosynthesis process will happen, and so many other processes will happen, the water cycle will happen, evaporation will take place, rain will come, because of that life will come on earth. Is it a plan of the sun to do all this? Or does the sun say that I am very tired, I will take a holiday today? There is no such thing, because it is the nature of the sun to shine. Bhagavan tells us that you be a light unto yourself, you be the self, automatically things will happen. Whatever has to happen will happen. So Bhagavan obviously had no volition whatsoever. He says that right from the moment when he was brought to Arunachala, he was swept, he says, like a piece of straw in a flood. That current simply drew him here. And every action thereafter which happened, if he is asked, why did you do this? He will say it is the same Shakti. He will say it is Arunachala Shakti. He has said it when he is talking about his coming down to Ramanashramam. Why did you leave Skandashramam and come? The same Shakti which brought me to Arunachala brought me here. So there is nothing but that Shakti which is working at all times. It's what Bhagavan is telling. By that great power, everything is happening. And he points out to Humphreys also. Humphreys asks him, how will we be able to recognize that there is some progress in this practice? He says, Bhagavan says, by the power to deal with people and events, always unconscious power. He says unconscious power. Even there, he says one does not start thinking, oh, I am able to do this better because of Bhagavan's Shakti or because of the sadhana. But if one becomes conscious, one must actually question that as well through self-inquiry. Who is conscious of this? So Bhagavan is pointing out that it is that Shakti is not a Shakti with volition, but it is a Shakti which is all encompassing, and therefore everything happens by its power. And of course, one can understand that Muruganar was completely moved only by that Shakti, and that alone has worked through him. He has repeatedly reported this, but it was a very interesting point actually, which David Godman brought out in one of his talks for our center. He said that Muruganar, the way poems used to come, the way probably Guruvachaka Kovai also came in that manner, and how it used to come to him even in later years, where he is written the Ramana Jnana Bodham, is that he says that it just used to come, and earlier all there was nobody to write it or anything. Muruganar Swami would have a slate and he would write it on the slate. He would write the poem on the slate, and after a few minutes he may get another poem. He will simply wipe this out and write the next one. That's it. What to do? He did not think, oh, this one I have written, it has to be there. So Robert Butler says, actually, if we have about 30,000 verses from Muruganar, the way he wrote, we should have had lakhs of verses, but only 30,000 are available to us. Because that is the way it used to come to him. Even Kanakamma and others who were afterwards serving him, they say, when he went for his bath, toilet, everywhere he would just come out of his pores almost as if that's the way it used to come. So we can see how the Ramana Shakti, if Bhagavan says Arunachala Shakti was making him move and everything, every bit of his life was the movement of Arunachala Shakti, we can see in Muruganar and of course other great ones who have come to us to show the glory of that Ramana Shakti. We can see how the Ramana Shakti alone is manifesting in all its glory. And Muruganar is saying this. If Muruganar were to tell us something also, it is equally good. Because every bit of Muruganar is only that Ramana Shakti. So if it is own poem also, it is fine. But Bhagavan has played with Muruganar also in this context. While writing Ramana Puranam, it was that Muruganar wrote the Ramana Puranam. He did not know whether it should be named Ramana Puranam or Shiva Puranam. Because he had written it on the lines of Shiva Puranam. He went and kept it at Bhagavan's feet. And then when he came back, he found that not only Ramana Puranam was written as a title, it was written on top of every page. And there were other verses, there were more verses to complete the work. When the book went for print, I think it was in the second edition, Muruganar put an asterisk mark and said, from here Bhagavan has written the verses. Then Bhagavan also looked at the proof and he said, oh, from here Bhagavan has written, is it? And Muruganar, it is said, began to tremble and said, then he said in a voice choked with emotion, no Bhagavan, it is entirely yours. So that is how it is. Not only Guruvachaka Kovai, but everything that has come. But here, because Muruganar is recording those words, it is explicitly said that it is Bhagavan, but it is all only Bhagavan. And then, as Nandakumarji said, whatever we do, whatever happens in our lives, everything is encompassed only by that Ramana Shakti. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Is Bengoji there? Yes. We can start the Ashtotram.
Yes, sir, we can. नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योऽपि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपःक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितः श्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिकाखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजदशलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईद्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्धाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेश्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिलिङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ मृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसाराणवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ं सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजलिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवश तादात्म्यभावङ्गतः निर्दिष्टस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नमैदम् योगोत्तर ज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Thank you, Vaibhavji. Thank you, Prarthana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana sir. Namo Ramana Vaibhavji. Namo Ramana Prarthana.